Things you wouldn't hear at the Olympics.
The ski jump will start as soon as the British skier takes his hand off the side and stops crying.
This should be a laugh. Women running.
Some people on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now. The Chinese secret police have shot them.
And now the 4 words that no ice dancer ever wants to hear. Release the polar bear.
England are playing fantastically. This is a splendid DVD of 1966.
Rejected questions from this year's exams.
If an oil well is spilling out oil at 50,000 barrels a day, how do you stop it? Really? How do you stop it?
If the world is heating up at 2 degrees per decade, what is the point of anything?
If I add 1/8 to 1/16, how stoned will I be?
Vladimir has 10,000 tanks and you have 3. Why would you start a war? Complete the following sequence. 16, 35, 24, 8, 9. Now open the safe, grab the stuff and get in the getaway car.
If everybody in Class A is called Tom, Thomas or Tommy, and every second boy in Class B is called Tim, Timothy or Timmy, what the fuck is going on?
What colour does a Smurf go when we choke it?
There's a wedding where Jane invites 20 guests and her partner Helen invites 40 guests. How angry is God?
Things you don't want to hear in hospital.
Can you go for a shit so the surgeon can get his car keys back?
So if you'd like to just pop your clothes over there, next to mine.
These drugs don't actually work, but every time I prescribe them, I get a free pen.
So, just checking your notes here. You're Mrs. A. Oh, I'm sorry. You've got MRSA. We're going to put you to sleep now because you're old and it's the kindest thing to do.
Yes, I'll be operating. Oh, there you are. You'll live for about a week.
Well, there's good news and bad news. But don't worry, I can give the good news to your widow. This is one of the healthiest x-rays I've ever seen. But if we compare that with yours...
Lines you wouldn't hear in a horror movie.
I am Lucifer, Lord of the Night! And tonight I'll be singing Complicated by Avril Lavigne.
This potion that turns you from Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde, it looks a lot like 6 cans of Stella.
The child is vomiting, its head is rotating, and it seems to be possessed by the devil. However, Britain's social services have visited 20 times, and they think everything's okay.
Unlikely lines to hear in a Hollywood blockbuster.
Nemo, where the fuck have you been?
Mr. Vader, we are the Child Support Agency.
Mr. Bond, have you ever kissed a man?
Harry thought of his magical adventures very differently now that he'd been diagnosed as a schizophrenic.
Unlikely things to hear on a children's TV programme.
This drawing has been sent in by Robert, age 9. That's a shit drawing, Robert.
And remember, while crystal meth is a lovely treat, it is very bad for your teeth.
Are your mummy and daddy out of the room? Good. Listen, you're adopted.
Unlikely lines to hear in an episode of Doctor Who.
I'm here to save the Earth, but as a doctor, I won't be working evenings or weekends.
Lines you wouldn't hear in a TV detective show.
Well, we know now who's responsible for the killing. It's society, yeah? Yeah, you want to think about that,
It was simple. I just Googled who done it.
Miss Marple, we've got no evidence, no forensic stuff, nothing. We don't know what's going on. Don't worry, just pin it on the black guy.
Things you wouldn't hear from a weather forecaster.
The Met Office have issued a weather warning. They've told the weather not to do that again or there'll be trouble.
Temperatures could rise to 31 degrees. Shit, I've left my baby in the car! A huge depression over Scotland and now the weather.
Well, let's go to Carol on the roof of Television Centre. She's not meant to be there. She's just a bit depressed.
What are you watching me for? Look out the fucking window.
What do you care what the weather's going to be like? You look shit in all your clothes.
Unlikely things to hear on a survival show.
But who are the truly civilised? Is it the Mbupi tribe, or is it us, with our books, our medicine, and our internet? Oh yes, it's us. I've just achieved my life's ambition of climbing Everest with no food and no equipment. Now do you love me, Daddy?
Unlikely things to read on a packet.
Serves 4, you greedy bastard. Now put some of that back.
To stop diarrhoea, take 1 teaspoon and shove it up your arse.
Deleted lines from a fantasy film.
Ron had been suffering from swine flu and people were avoiding him. Luckily, he was ginger and he was used to it.
Commercials that never made it to air.
The Indonesian children who made these trainers know that if they miss a single stitch, their family will be beaten with sticks. That's how we can guarantee you quality.
Our invention lets you know whether or not a girl fancies you. We call it beer.
Pizza. Buy one, pay full price.
By the year 2020, we shall rule the earth. Tesco, every little helps.
Consumer scams are on the increase. If you'd like to find out how to stop them, send us your name and address, your date of birth, and your mother's maiden name.
I've just found out my jumper was made by Indian slave children. Can I just say they did a wonderful job?
Unsettling things to hear in the White House.
Who's the president here, me or you? It's me. Shit! Get me an 18-inch knife and a hand grenade. I'm sorting this Iraq shit out.
Oh, that's a map of Iran.
Deciding to go to war was one of the tensest games of eeny, meeny, miny, mo I have ever played.
Finally, economic news. We're fucked. Good night.
The economy is in ruins. I blame the previous Chancellor.
Things you wouldn't hear on a driving test.
OK, when I give you the signal, I want you to wind the window down and call the cyclist a wanker.
Well, if she doesn't get up, you've definitely failed.
On my signal, I'd like you to mount the pavement and kill my ex-wife. If I fail, can I still keep driving my taxi?
Bad things to hear on an airplane.
Whoops! This air traffic control thing's not as easy as it looks.
Thank God we're flying. I'm too pissed to drive.
Should the passenger causing a disturbance in the quiet coach please settle down and stop shouting about your heart medicine?
Ill-advised things to say in court.
If stabbing a man makes me guilty, I'm guilty.
I would like to present my own defence through the medium of dance.
So, if I'm found not guilty, can I keep all the stuff I nicked?
Bad things to say at a wedding.
And we will now sing hymn number 225. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
To my new son-in-law, I would say this. You have released me. This monster is yours now. When John went down on one knee, I wish I'd known that he was having a stroke.
Bad things to hear at the psychiatrist's.
Well, you say that you're paranoid, but I have a report here that says you looked very relaxed in the bath this morning.
Wow, that's really interesting. Do you mind if I use some of this stuff as lyrics for my band?
You have emotional problems and a below-average IQ. I'm prescribing Hollyoaks.
Bad things to say at a job interview.
Right, I hope we can all be professional about the fact that I've just split up with all 3 of you.
9 till 5, 9 till 5, my medication wears off at 3.
The 5-year employment gap, yeah. I was canoeing.
This job would be a great opportunity for me to steal a shitload of stationery. I've always wanted to work in a library! If only I could read!
What a news reporter would never say.
Reports of a mystery man loitering in the area turned out to be me.
News just in. Go to a break, your wife's been hit by a truck. Even amidst the devastation of this earthquake, there are still stories of hope. I found a man's wallet. Last week we said that we were going to expose London's security scene. This week we say there's been a misunderstanding. Could I please have my kids back?
And we can see there's been an accident northbound on the M1, and it is a beauty. And it was just a few feet from here that the shots were fired. I know, I fired them.
Likely things to hear on a news programme.
The two youths convicted this morning got what they deserve.
And if you have an opinion on this news story, why not keep it to yourself?
Things you wouldn't hear on the radio.
Here on Traffic Watch, we're predicting long delays on the M4, where I'm about to hit my ex-wife's car with this helicopter. Did you see a hit and run in the Cromwell Road on Tuesday night? Please get in touch, because I'm keen to silence any witnesses. Is Britain becoming more misogynist? Let's ask this bitch.
Bad things to hear on opening the door in the middle of the night.
I saw a peeping Tom in your garden, but I warned him. This is my patch. I'm afraid your husband's been murdered. Could I borrow a shovel?
Unlikely things to hear on a TV talent show.
When you said you were going to saw a woman in half, I thought you were a magician.
Oh, my family aren't going to believe it when they see me on TV. They think I'm dead.
That was a beautiful song, until you fucking sang it.
Things you wouldn't want to hear at work.
It's not a photocopier, it's a shredder. And what have you done to your arse? What do you mean it's not your turn to make the coffee? This is fucking Starbucks.
Bad things to hear from a tour guide.
A lot of you will be wondering why there are so many wonderful foreign treasures on display here at the British Museum. And the answer is quite simple, really. Gun beats spear. I know that a lot of you can't bear to leave Thailand, which is why I've hidden drugs randomly in your luggage.
And as we enter the next room, I need you all to be very quiet, because we have technically broken in.
Well, this is the deepest, darkest bit of the caves. And unless you give me £20 each, it's where you're staying.
Things you don't want to hear from your flatmate.
Well, if you don't think I'm a nosy bastard, why did you write that in your diary? OK, there's one certain way to find out who ate my yoghurt: an AIDS test.
Unlikely things to hear on a history documentary.
And it was here, at this exact spot that faced with 30,000 baying Frenchmen, that Henry V shat himself.
Bad things to say when leading troops into battle.
Soon you'll be at home with your families, in a jar on the mantel. Our best hope is that the enemy kills so many of us, they become slightly depressed.
Unlikely lines to read in the Bible.
And God said, right, that's the 14 commandments. Now, will you remember all those?
Unlikely excerpts from a nature documentary.
This beautiful hummingbird is no match for my squash racket.
And I'm having to whisper because this bear has got me in a headlock.
Well, that test was conclusive. Cats have one life.
Unhelpful things to say in a crisis.
I know, why don't we get the UN involved?
Statistically speaking, of course, in these circumstances, most of us will die.
The worst thing to say when running for US president.
I intend to withdraw from Iraq, invade some real pussies like Spain. I've been knocking on doors in this constituency for weeks, and it's completely unconnected to the recent stranglings.
Unlikely things for a royal correspondent to say.
It's great to see the whole family waving from the balcony through the sights of my AK-47.
Bad things for a by-election candidate to say.
I am the perfect candidate. This is an election, and I am bi.
If elected, living standards will go up. For me and my wife.
Unlikely letters for an agony aunt to receive.
Dear bitch, I have trouble making friends. What are you going to do about it?
Lines you wouldn't hear in a war film.
Why are we speaking English?
I can't feel my legs. That's because your arms have been blown off.
Unlikely things to hear on a property programme.
You can't decide between the two properties? Well, you're an MP. Why don't you claim for them both?
And remember, the prices of property can go down as well as plummet.
You know I said those ghastly beams, what on earth are they for? It turns out they were for holding your house up. Even on a collapsing market, you can still make money from a flat like this. We invited 3 different estate agents to come and value it, then harvested their organs.
Unlikely greetings cards.
Be my Valentine or die in a well.
Congratulations on conquering your drug and alcohol dependency. We're having a party to celebrate, but you can't come.
Get well soon. P.S. I know it's terminal, but they didn't have a card for that.
There are just 3 words I want to say. Dream on, bitch.
Unlikely things to hear in a science programme.
I was the man who discovered DNA. I wasn't going to call it that, but I was giving a lecture to the Royal Society, and I said, gentlemen, I believe I've discovered the genetic fingerprint of all human life. Ta-da!
Unlikely things to get through your letterbox.
Do you know what's in your attic? It's me. I've been there since Christmas.
Why has your girlfriend stopped changing near the window? Love, Dad.
Would you recognise a fake ID? No? Great, I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Bad things to say on a first date.
My last girlfriend asked if I could play Smoke on the Water, so I threw a toaster in her bath.
Well, so anyway, so listen, that's enough about me. Tell me about your sister.
Whoa! How pissed was I when I asked you out?
Not as pissed as I was when I said yes.
Unlikely things to read in a political memoir.
I thought I'd pressed the button that summoned the tea lady. Imagine my surprise when it turned out I bombed Russia.
Unlikely things to hear in a quiz show.
Ooh, this one has really stumped Steve from the Eggheads. The question was, what is it like to have sex with a woman?
So this question for £100. What is your PIN number?
Inappropriate things to say on winning Wimbledon.
This is fantastic. In some way, it compensates for my lost childhood, my dysfunctional family, and the fact I'm so stressed I haven't had a period for 7 years.
Bad things for a teacher to say.
Fight! 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 Fight!
I've been at this school for over 40 years. I buggered your fathers and I will bugger you.
It turns out you're not dyslexic, you're just really, really stupid.
The worst thing to hear over a tannoy system.
Would the parents of the child that fell into the tiger enclosure please come to Lost Property to collect her shoes?
Weird things to see on a road sign.
No left turn, no right turn, no entry, no reversing. Get out of the car and put your hands on your head. Do it!
Things that would change the atmosphere at a dinner party.
Don't worry, we don't say grace. We just sacrifice a child to the great god Imhotep. Well, this is absolutely lovely. I say we all raise a glass to the future!
Unlikely things to hear on a breakfast show.
Hello! I'm doing a survey into the effects of replacing milk on your Weetabix with Red Bull!